Are you ready to refine your portfolio? It's a play on words. Refine. Maybe time to pump it up with some U.S. oil stocks? That's a very broad term. Before you jump in, you need to hear both sides of this investing story. Joining us now to weigh in, Paul Dietrich, Fairfax Global Markets CEO and CIO, and Michael Driscoll, a Delphi University professor of finance and former Uber trader of the world. Great to have you both. Mike and I go way back. Paul, you get to start because you've been the real fan of the refiners in particular. Where do you stand on this now? The last time you were with us, which was a year ago, May, you were a real proponent of these names.
I still am, and I think they're going to continue to do good, to do well in the market. And the reason is that it is illegal to export American crude oil. This goes back to the 1975 Arab oil embargo. We can export gasoline, but we can't export American crude oil. And that's why there's always a price differential between the lower priced American oil and the Brent, which is the world priced oil. And so who benefits from that? The refiners get to buy artificially low oil here in the United States, and the fact that we haven't built a new refinery in 30 years because of the EPA.
Oh, that's a huge issue, yes.
They have almost a monopoly as to what they can charge, and they've got this huge price differential. So they've been opposing efforts in Congress to allow us to export oil. I don't think anything is going to change before the elections. I think with the Ukraine and a lot of pressure that we should be able to export oil and natural gas.
Mike,
that will happen later.
Case. You squeeze the supply and the demand and the price go up. Where do you stand on these oil and refiner stocks?
You know, as you alluded to, Liz, I've traded energy stocks for a long, long time. And granted, it's been a couple of years, but I think I still remember a few things. And one of them is it's the ultimate value group, right? You have to buy them when crude gets hit and when the stocks are out of favor and the economy's kind of looking a little punk. Where we are right now, I don't think that's the case. So, you know, you'll never hear me be a complete bear on energy names or anything hydrocarbon related. I think it is going to be around for a long, long time. But that being said, you know, crude, I do expect it to pull back from 100 or so with, you know, it's no secret the fracking mania that has taken place in this country over the last couple of years is going to have an impact ultimately. Increasingly renewables. Renewables are ways in the future, but they increase a little bit every year.
Okay, so your picks include Halliburton, but then you also say spread it around to names like J&J, Johnson & Johnson, and Altria. You don't smoke, but you say you can still capitalize on smokers.
You know, Liz, one thing about being a college professor and being 4 or 5 years removed from as into it as I was, is that I do have a little bit of perspective. And I kind of look at things, not being a smoker, but Altria makes a perfect product, right? It costs nothing to make. Altria is the foreign operations of Philip Morris. So smoking in the rest of the world is a little bit more acceptable than it is in the States these days. The stock yields in excess of 5%. You're getting paid twice the risk-free rate to sit and wait.
I'll take that. Paul Dietrich, you in the past have liked Marathon Petroleum. You also like Phillips 66, which is up very dramatically. I mean, Phillips 66 up about 29%. You're throwing in two technology names, though, now. You like Seagate as one of them, and you also are appreciative of Hewlett-Packard. Just talked about them as well. But let's put those names up and give us a final word on technology.
Well, the reason I like them is that they have very low price-earnings ratios, forward price-earnings ratios. They have huge return on equity, a lot of free cash flow generation, and some momentum. They're near their 52-week highs, and boy, you can't beat that. And there are so few value stocks available in this market. You want to grab the ones that are out there.
Paul Dietrich, Fairfax Global Markets CEO and CIO, and Mike Driscoll, the Delphi University professor of finance. We'll put both of their groups of stock picks up on Facebook.com/Liz Claman. Good to see you both. Closing bell ringing.